Hello dear learners, I hope you enjoyed my first video of Fundas of 2 in Economics, and by now you must have realized the importance of two economic agents, firm and the household, creating two economic forces, demand and supply. Whenever demand is equal to supply, market attains equilibrium. Classical economists always believed that demand is equal to supply and market works perfectly. However, the world is very dynamic and we have not always seen demand equal to supply. So what happens if both these forces are in disequilibrium? Yes, country faces any one of the two economic problems. That is, either inflation when demand is more than supply, or deflation leading to unemployment if demand is less than supply. We have heard of the phenomena like hyperinflation which happened in Germany after the World War II. Similarly, recently we have heard of Zimbabwe's hyperinflation, Venezuela's hyperinflation. Similarly, we have also heard of the Great Depression of 1929 and the global economic crisis of 2008. So that clearly witness that demand is not always equals to supply. Before 1929, the government policy was highly guided by the classical economist views. However, the phenomenon of Great Depression could not be explained and solved with the help of classical views, and that led to the development of Keynesian economics. However, both these theories suffer with some loopholes, and that led to the emergence of neoclassical ideas in the form of ISLM model. So let's watch and enjoy the videos on ISLM model and its emergence.
Let us first learn the classical views. Economic policies by the government of many countries before 1929 were guided by classical views. The father of economics, Adam Smith, has always supported the idea of free market economy. According to him, market is most efficient where every individual is guided by their self-interest. Consumers aim at maximizing utility and producers aim at maximizing profit. The action and reaction of both these agents, therefore, will automatically bring equilibrium in the market. Even if an economy suffers from disequilibrium, there will be invisible hand in the market which will automatically correct such disequilibrium. To give an example, suppose commodity X has low utility in the market and so low demand. That will bring its price down and therefore producer would not be willing to produce more of such goods. So low demand brings automatically low supply and vice versa. Another assumption made by classicals is that there is always a full employment in the economy. This assumption has been highly objected later on during 1929. The phenomenon of Great Depression gave a major setback to the classical ideas and led to the emergence of completely contradictory ideas to classicals developed by Professor J. M. Keynes. So, let's learn the Keynesian views. Professor J. M. Keynes wrote a book named General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, and here he tried to give a solution to the problem of Great Depression. Point to be noted here is that he called his theory as a general theory, which is unlike classical theory, can be applied by any country at any time. He at the outset opined that there will always be unemployment in the economy. And the reason for this unemployment in the economy, according to J.M. Keynes, is lack of effective demand. And therefore, solution to reduce the unemployment is to increase the effective demand, and that can be done through government interference. So, exactly opposite view as what Classical had of laissez-faire economy, Keynes has promoted the government role in the economy. Now, let's learn the concept of effective demand developed by J.M. Keynes. Effective demand, according to Professor J.M. Keynes, refers to the point where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. The term aggregate demand refers to total demand by all people for all the goods and services produced in the country. As we know that there are two important agents in the economy, they are firm and the household. So, there are two demands created by these two agents, and they are consumption demand and investment demand. To take an example, suppose household earns some income. A part of the income is spent by the household on the consumption goods. The remaining part is saved. The part which is saved by the household is used by the firm to demand investment goods. And this is how total demand for goods and services in the country includes demand for consumption goods and demand for investment goods. Obviously, whatever is demanded in the economy will be supply. So, aggregate supply will be equal to consumption goods supply and the investment goods supply. Importantly, consumption demand by the household depend on two important factors. One, income, and other MPC, which means marginal propensity to consume. That is, a percentage change in income brings about what percentage change in the consumption. Rise in the income bring about rise in the demand for consumption good. And higher the MPC, more will be the income spent on consumption. Investment demand made by firm also depends on two factors. MEC, that is marginal efficiency of capital, that is nothing but profitability of the business, and rate of interest. Rate of interest is nothing but the cost of borrowing. So, higher the rate of interest, higher the cost of borrowing, and therefore producer will be less willing to borrow more and invest less. Rate of interest, on the other hand, is a monetary variable decided in the money market, which depends upon two forces, money demand and money supply. However, money demand also depends upon the income decided in the goods market. Higher the income of the consumer, more they wish to spend, and therefore more the cash they demand. Higher the rate of interest in the money market results into higher the cost of borrowing, and thereby reduces the profitability of the business and thereby investment in the goods market. Thus, the rate of interest, which is a monetary variable, affects the real economic variable, income, MPC and MEC. However, classical theories failed to explain this relationship between rate of interest, being a monetary variable, and the level of income, which is a real sector variable. And that was a major loophole in the classical theories. Similarly, income, which is determined in the goods market, also results into change in the demand for money, because as income increases, consumers wish to spend more and therefore they demand more cash. This rise in demand, given the money supply, results into change in the rate of interest. However, Keynesian economics failed to explain this relationship between the real economic variable income and the rate of interest. And it is therefore, in order to overcome the loopholes in the classical and Keynesian theories, Professor Alvin Hansen and Professor John Hicks came up with the new idea. Classical economics failed to explain the relationship between monetary variable rate of interest affecting level of income, which is a real sector variable, and Keynesian economics failed to explain the effect of a real sector variable level of income affecting the monetary variable rate of interest. And therefore, to fill this gap in these two economic theories, Hicks and Hansen brought their own model called as ISLM model. This ISLM model is a good blend of good classical views on the real sector and good modern views on the monetary sector together, and therefore it is also called as a neoclassical synthesis.